I'm Arles Cole, and of course, kid 17 years old from Oklahoma, just arrived at Pearl Harbor in August of 1941 after my training in navigational school at San Diego. Had an opportunity to request my choice of ships, so I chose the newest battleship in the Pacific Fleet, the USS West Virginia, as the ship that I wanted to serve on and got to serve on, and that's in August of 41 I went aboard her. We went out for maneuvers several days in a row, learning how to do our jobs. As Captain Norman said, each one of us had an assignment. We did it over and over again, and so we got pretty good at it. Knew where our battle stations were and all of that. A little bit before the attack on Pearl Harbor, I believe it was the 5th, the battleships had been out for maneuvers. They came into Pearl, took their assigned mooring places in Battleship Row, and Liberty was announced to go buy your Christmas presents so that you could get your Christmas presents home by the time Christmas arrived, which was several days away. Had to travel by ship then to get it there. So I went to Honolulu, bought my Christmas presents, brought them all but 2 back aboard, put them on top of my locker when I got back from Honolulu that night. And my locker was, of course, in my assigned berthing place down the 3rd deck below the main deck toward the stern of the ship. And but I had the privilege of sleeping topside. Hawaii being paradise also is tropical, and it's hot there, and being an old country boy, I like fresh air, so they gave me permission, after I asked, to be able to sleep and guard the navigational instruments in the pilot house. So I slept on the chart table that is in the pilot house of the navigational bridge. Just rolled a mat and a little old mattress with a pillow out on it. Went to sleep about midnight. Of course, as others have said, Sunday morning, beautiful sunny morning, I was able to sleep in. I missed breakfast, the worst time in the world. I missed breakfast. I didn't get to eat anything until 3 o'clock that afternoon. So I stepped out on the port wing of the navigational bridge about a few minutes before 8, and stretching, looking off. Down below me was the officer of the day and his boatswain mate and quartermaster and crew preparing to hoist colors. It is at the gangplank where boats come and go. So I watched those men for a few minutes, and they became alarmed in just a short order. I looked over toward Fort Island, and I saw smoke, heard noise, fire. What it was the first wave of planes, which was the fighters and dive bombers that hit all of our aircraft on the various military air bases on Honolulu in just a few minutes. And we had all of them parked, as someone had said, wingtip to wingtip, to eliminate problems with sabotage. What happened was, we disliked the battleships. We set them all up in a row and made beautiful targets. So they destroyed all but 3 aircraft, and we only got off the ground with 3 of them. One of those airplanes was piloted by a gentleman from Hominy, Oklahoma. He shot down 4 planes. So we had a good start from Oklahoma, I thought. But I looked about me. I saw a plane bank over the West Virginia. It had a red ball on it. Somebody said they're Japanese, we're under attack. Somebody announced general quarters, or the office of the day did. So here I am on the navigational bridge, 4 decks above the main deck. My battle station, 4 decks below the main deck. So I had 8 decks to go down, and as others said, sailors were coming and going up and down the ladders trying to get to their battle stations. The only way I could get down was to ride the handrails down the ladders until I got to the 3rd deck below on the starboard side of the ship. and went across a passageway, turned the corner and started to go down a long passageway on the port side, which is the side that the torpedoes began to hit the West Virginia. Now, the battleship West Virginia was in the Oklahoma. Those two battleships were in the center, or bullseye, of the target. Wahoo military facilities being actually that being the target. We were in the bullseye. And so the first torpedoes began to hit the Oklahoma and the West Virginia. As some have said, they hit also the Nevada. And of course, as I am turning the corner to go down that long passageway, immediately oil and water begins to flow in way down in front of me. And so I knew immediately that I was in trouble. The lights went out, knocked to my knees, and wasn't long until we were, I want to use the word tilting, listing, a naval term, listing heavily to the port side. Now, this is about the exact time that the Oklahoma was doing her listing, but she turned over. The reason we didn't turn over was because our damage control officer counter-flooded the other side. So even though we were about to turn over, we rested in the mud in a little while, not level, but near level. Well, the first thing I knew was to get out of there right real quick, so I actually had to climb the wall, the bulkhead, because we were tilting. So to get back to that ladder that I came down, when I got there, it was dogged down watertight. That's called watertight integrity, so that, some would say you dog her down to keep them safe, but in this case, you also lock in some folks that can't get out. And that's where I was, entombed for a few seconds. I heard noise just a little ways away. So I made my way to that noise, and there was a hole in the ceiling or overhead. I crawled out that hole, came up to the second deck, which is still below the water line, but it's one deck above where I am now. A bunch of men flaked out on the deck, knocked out, passed out, don't know. Somebody yelled, "Get these men out of here, water's coming in." I grabbed the first man in line. He weighed 235 pounds, and the reason I know how much he weighs is because he was a prize fighter. He had weighed in to fight. So I picked him up. You say, how did you, 17-year-old kid, pick up a 235-pound? Well, I had a little help, folks. And sometimes miraculous strength comes on a human being. Picked him up, took him to the main deck, laid him down. Now, where that hole came from, at the same time those torpedo planes hit the battleships, the strategic bombers made their run across Battleship Row. And that's a high-level bomber dropping bombs strategically. The first bomb hit the USS Arizona, hit number 2 magazine, and the magazine is simply a ammunition depot on board ship. When the bomb exploded, so did the magazine full of ammunition explode, and so the Arizona blew up, killing 1,177 men immediately. The West Virginia caught 2 bombs. One, I don't know where it exploded. Second one was a dud. Made a hole in the ceiling for me. They found it later when they raised the ship. I have a picture of it over at the cottage. Shows the cylinder of the back end of that bomb as they were getting ready to hoist it out of there after they raised the West Virginia. Miraculous in the hand of God, because I could have died by water just in a few minutes, a few seconds really, if the bomb had exploded to kill me there. But after getting to the main deck, I saw the oil on the water. The oil was fire, men trying to swim in it, dead bodies, all kinds of terrible things. I saw that I thought our flag had already been hoisted, but I saw that it was not flying. So I thought that it needs to be flying. Dad had taught us to be patriotic, the importance of the American flag, flying Old Glory. And so I knew where the bonding locker was. I went to that bonding locker and got the biggest American flag that we had on board and took it back there. And of course, when the Arizona blew up, it blew up set everything on fire on the stern of the Tennessee and the West Virginia, including the halyard on that staff. That's the flag staff on the stern of a ship where the flag flies when you're in port. There was a little line in the pulley up the top. That flag was the pole was about 20 feet long, I'd say, roughly 3 to 4 inches in diameter, angling out over the water. That, as that time, was a fire at about 15 minutes after 8. And being a kid, just had my shorts on, but I scanted up that metal pole, tied the flag up to the pulley at the top, tied it down at the bottom off where it would fly and look good, and jumped down, and that did it. Of course, I saw pictures of it later. It was shown. I've got a picture. In fact, there's a picture over there on the wall by that big flag. And that picture shows was taken sometime during the night of the 7th, after the attack had been completed and everything, and all of the devastation was around. You can see up in the upper right-hand corner of that picture, you can see the fire from the Arizona, the smoke from it. It shows the flag in displayed beautifully, and it was shown across the nation here days later in the theaters. In those days, it got information, news through newsreels.